Welcome to Garagehammer TV, you tools. Brought to you by Unique Gifts and Games. Thanks for showing up today. And today we are doing basically what everybody else is doing, previewing Shadepsire. This is it. This is the whole shebang right here. You've got everything. You've got Corn over. You've got Stormcast Eternals. We've got Orcs, the Iron Skull boys. We've got Sepulchral Guard. We've got the Skeletons. We've got cards. We've got tokens. We've got boards. This comes with a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in this game. Now, today I am not going to be going into the lore of Shadespire. It's only like 4 pages. I know I could do it, but we're going to do that on episode 179 of Garagehammer, so you could listen to that when Alex and I talk about that together before we get together and sort of do an audio version of kind of what I'm going to do here today. Basically, in this game, you're all in this city of Shadespire, and your teams are in there for different reasons. Some people just are there for the love of the battle. Some people are there to collect artifacts. The undead are there because Nagash hates everybody. And basically, it's a battle on these little boards. Now, really interesting thing, you got 2 boards, each 2-sided, okay? And how the game actually starts to set up is you roll to see who gets initiative in setting up a board. Now, the loser picks his board first, whatever side he wants, and puts it down. The winner then gets to pick his side from the remaining board. I suppose you could, if you each had your own set, then you could each have the same side board, but right now we got the one set, that's what we're working with. What's interesting is, you don't just necessarily set your board up like so, okay? The winner gets to choose, or the guy who goes second gets to choose how you place it. You can place it long ways or regular ways. Now, there's only a couple of rules. If you go long ways, you see the little half hexes here. You have to have at least 2 half hexes together if you go a long way. So basically, if you go the long way, it's got to be even. However, you only have to have 3 connected if you go lengthwise. So I could literally set up my board like this if I wanted to. Or anywhere up to this or over to here. So you've got a variety of ways to set up your board. I ain't gonna lie, I haven't figured out the strategy of setting up your board anyway other than sort of straightforward. I realize there are things you can do. I just haven't figured out the benefits or like how it's going to work with the teams I'm using. Most of the games I've played have been on a board set up just straight like this because, you know, I'm either teaching someone or I'm learning how to play. So after you roll off to see who goes, you know, loser picks the board, winner sets up this side, and then in a 2-player game, you take these 5 beautiful tokens and you set them up. Loser gets to set up first. You cannot set them up on any of the edge full hexes. And if you've got a really thick line like this, this is impassable. You can't set them up there. And you can't set them up on any of these symbols because that's where you start your players. So I place a piece, boom. My opponent places a piece, boom. You want to place your next piece? Cannot be within 2 of the original piece. So now you got to gap it out a little bit. And this guy's going to put his over here. And now, the only exception of these rules with the 2 spaces and no edges, the last piece can go on an edge spot. Especially because if you get into special rules or bigger games, 3 and 4 players, you can have actually up to 9 pieces and extras. These are all really nice, by the way. Nice thick cardboard, nice, well printed, nice solid images, very good stuff. So you get these, you can put it on an edge if you want. Boom, you got your 5 pieces down, you got your board set up, you're ready to go. You roll to see who gets to place guys first, and you're ready to start. How do you know who gets to go? You get 4 dice apiece, you roll, and you're looking for the exclamation points. These are criticals, okay? Criticals are what you get to set up your board. So, we get all that going, we get all that set up, and then we'll get into starting the game. Let's go and show you a little bit closer on the board and a little bit closer on the dice right now. All right, so here's all the cool stuff that you get with your Shadepsire set. You have activation tokens. You get 4 of these per person. When you do an activation, you turn them over. You're done. 4 activations a person. We have tons of glory chips. You get... You're going on guard, which means you can use shields and dodges. You've got your I moved and I charged chips. You've got wound tokens, all sorts of stuff. These models are so nice. And they're only a couple of pieces. It's super easy to put these things together. I did it really quick, really fast. The nice thing about the cards, let's talk about the cards for a minute. First of all, the card has the picture of your guy. So even if you decide not to paint him, you can sort of match up the card to the picture of the model. Now, I was playing this, and Chris Barnett made a really great suggestion. He's like, if you're not going to paint these anytime soon, go get a silver Sharpie, one of the really skinny ones, and write the dude's name on the back, on the rim, just because it was kind of a pain. Now, they all have an individual pose, so you can look. Who's the guy holding the axe above his head? Who's the guy with the dagger? Who's the guy with the chain? Who's the guy with the, so you can look at them and you can tell who's who. But sometimes, I suppose it would be easier that way. Now, these orc models. Okay, first of all, I'm so happy with this Iron Skulls Boys set because I love orcs. I just don't have the patience to paint all of them. After the 1,000 Zombie Nightmare, I don't want to paint huge hordes right now. But I'd love to paint me some orcs because they're such good models, and now I've got 4. So that's really cool. So much character in the undead models, too. I've painted plenty of undead, so these will be a breeze. I'm looking forward to painting some skeletons again. Haven't done it in a while. Every one of these models is full of character, full of detail. So nice. I particularly like Joey Woke Up Late here, who's just still trying to get out of the ground. These are just fantastic models. They're a bit shiny, especially Stormcast. Golden Boy here, I'm definitely going to have to paint him. This blue is too shiny. This is the same with those Reaver kits we've done in the last show. But they're just so nice. Now, let's take a look at the card. You've got the range of your weapon, which is for almost always 1. There's a couple of guys who have 2. How many dice you get, and what you need to get on your dice. Of course, I picked the one guy who's got axes. So you can either have hammers or axes, okay? That's how many dice you get in the attack. That's how many damage you do. Now, it's not per success. If I get 2 successes and you get no blocks, I don't get 2 per. It's total damage. If you either damage or you don't. This is your movement. This is your defense. And that's how many wounds you have. Your defense can be either shields or swerves. Now, let's take a look at the dice really quick. There's 2 kinds of dice. Attack and defense dice. They both have 1 critical, 1 single support, 1 double support, okay, on attack and defense. The attack has 2 hammers and 1 crossed swords. So the guys with the hammers have a better chance. They got a 1 in 3 chance of hitting as opposed to 1 in 6. So your guys with your hammers have a better chance to hit. Stormcast all have hammers. Now, on the defense, you've got your critical, your single block, your single defense, your double support, and then you have 2 shields and a swerve. So once again, if you have armor, you got a better chance than if you're just jumping out of the way. All right? So it's very simple with the dice and with the cards. Now, what is special about the cards, what's great about the cards, is you've got these little yellow boxes or gold boxes on the corn guys. It says at least 3 fighters are out of action. So once 3 fighters are out of action, you flip your card and you get what's your inspired form. Whatever it is, it's got you fighting even harder. You'll notice this guy goes from 2 attacks with 1 damage to 3 attacks with 2 damage. All the corn guys go from a speed 4 to a speed 5. This guy doesn't get extra attacks, but he does get extra damage. There's different things for different guys. Now, the Stormcast, if they successfully get a critical or a shield, when they roll defense, they automatically go to their one. Now, this guy's actually got 2 different attacks when he gets inspired. His regular stats don't change. He gets extra defense and a different attack. Okay? He goes from having knockback 1 to having either knockback 1 or cleave. And those are rules that I'll explain in a minute. But basically, cleave means you can't use any shields for your defense. So that's actually really good. No good against Corn because none of their guys have shields. So cleave is useless. Knockback is really good. It basically pushes your guy farther back than if you have a regular pushback. So these are the cards, all the tokens, all the models. Everything here is really sharp. Everything here is really nice. And so let's take a look. Let's go back and talk about the actual play, the actual action phase. We'll get into the fun part of the game right next. Okay, so once your board is set up and you've got everything here and you've got your activation tokens and you've got your cards out in front of you with your guys and you're looking at your stuff and you're ready to play, you roll to see who goes first. Now, you roll for see who goes first. Same rule whenever you roll to go first. You're looking for criticals, okay? Whoever finished setting up their guys first gets a +1 to how many criticals they got, even if you have to re-roll. So you each roll your dice, bling, blang. This guy got none, this guy got 1, plus he got a bonus. Oh, look, that guy's going first. Here we go. So now there are only so many things you can do with the board. And the learning curve on this is kind of steep on that first game because there's a bunch of different things that you could possibly do when you're trying to keep track of the rules and all that. Seriously, by the second turn, like we were playing this the first time, by the second turn, you pretty much have it down. By the third turn, you got a pad, okay? So there's different things you can do. First, you can move. You can move up to the move, your number on your movement on your card. Once you move, you place a move token next to the guy. I can move 3. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and put a move token, okay? Once I've done that, he can't move anymore. He can still do other things, but he can't move, okay? And you only get 4 activations, remember? So that's 1 activation, all right? Now, what else can you do? You can go on guard. Go on guard is a different thing. It's a different token. It's got a shield and a dodge, okay? Now, your defense dice have, as we said before, 2 shields and 1 dodge. Your card will show you either you have a shield, which means that you only roll shields, or you have a little dodge, a little swervy arrow. Okay, that's what you were looking for. If you go on guard, you stay on guard till the end of the round, as long as you don't charge. And what does that mean? It means shields and swerves count for you, because you're on the defense, ready to go, ducking and weaving, holding the shield. So you can do that as well. What else can you do? You can draw a power card. Oops, I want another card. Okay, you can discard and draw another objective card. Why discard and draw? Because you can never have more than 3. You can't start piling those up for later. You can only have 3. What else can you do? You can pass. You can just be like, I got no moves, I can pass. Or you can attack if you're next to a person, which is on your attack card. Or you can do a charge. And a charge is basically, it's 1 activation. You move and attack. The only thing is if you do a charge, that model cannot activate again this round. So you've got 4 activations. The guy who moved, he can't move again, but he can attack if there's guys next to him. He can do things like that. He still has options. The guy who charged is done. Okay? Now, next thing, I'll do another little zoom in here on the board, and I'll go over those things, and I can show you with the models on the board all the different things they can do with the charge and the move and the different types of attacks and the rules that go into there. This is where we get into the combat and the rolling dice and the fun sort of crunchy stuff in the game, and I'll show you that now. Okay, so here's our board set up. You can see that we've got the Stormcast here and the Corn guys here, and we've got all our objectives. Now let's see the different things we can do. Now, as I said before, you can move, and Stormcast move 3. So let's say I'm going first. I can go 1, 2, 3, right? Now, if I just want to move and not do anything else, I put a move token next to him. But since I'm right up next to the guy, what I'll do is, let's say I'm going to do a charge maneuver, okay? Now, charging means that I both move and attack. So that's my activation. I will flip my activation token over because I have 4 of them. And I move in and I attack. Now, what do? Well, I use his stats, which is he's got a 1 range. He's got 2 attacks, so I take 2 attack dice. And then he does damage 3. My opponent has 1 defense die, so he gets 1 die. Now, I roll, he rolls. All right. Now, how does the dice work? First of all, and I'm glad this rolled up here, because criticals trump everything. Okay? I could have 3 attacks, and I'll get 3 hammers. Hammer, hammer, hammer. I still lost this. Because critical trumps everything. If you get a critical, you're done. You win. If you get more criticals than your opponent. Now, on this particular attack, we tied. Okay? I have no support right now. We'll get into that in a minute. We both have critical. So here's how this works. All right. If nobody has any hits or successes, we do this. Nobody has any successes, it's a fail. My attack's done. Okay? If we have an equal number of successes, and here 1 critical each, cancel each other out. So it's still a fail, and that would be a success when they cancel. But let's not get into that. So, here we go. Now, we each got a success, but it's a fail. If you each get a success, but you have a fail, you can do something called a drive back, okay? Drive back, this is the one time you can do it when you fail. Drive back means my opponent, I can choose to move him away from me 1 space. So he can move 1 space. He can't move here or here because that's not away from me. He can go here, here, or here. I can push him away. That way he doesn't just get a chance to hit back. He'd have to actually move or charge me. All right? So, remember I said on the card that the one guy had knockback? If you drive somebody back, the guy had knockback 1. That's 1 extra space. It has to be in the same direction that they moved initially. But so having knockback gives you that extra move. All right? Now, another special rule, because there's so many special rules. This is the stuff you've got to learn. If, for some reason, I fail, and I go to do a knockback, and it's only when I fail and get knocked back. So we have an equal number of hits. If he can't be knocked back, I do damage to him instead. Because there was a success, but it didn't knock him back. This is the only time it works like that. So if you fail, but get knocked back, and he can't be knocked back, you can choose to do damage to him instead. Womp, womp. So, now let's say nobody got any successes. This would still be the same. 1 success, 1 success. I fail, but there's knockback. If I succeed, I do damage according to the damage on the card. This guy does 3 damage. He would take 3 damage. If that's enough to meet his damage number on his card, he goes off the board. He's out. If it's not, he takes the damage. Obviously, if he succeeds and I don't get anything, then nothing happens. Oh, look, I stink. That's it. So what about these? What about the supports? Okay, support is actually very simple in Shadepsire, all right? If he's got a guy next to him that I'm attacking, next to me, not next to him, his guy is next to me, here, here, any of these spots, I'm attacking this guy, there's another guy next to me. Oh, look, he's got 1 more guy next to me, then he gets 1 support. So his dice, he'll get, if he rolls dodges or 1 support, that counts. Now he's got 2 guys next to me while I'm attacking. So he can use dodge or 1 support or 2 support. All right? Now, I've got a guy next to his guy, and he's got 2 guys next to me. It could be here, here, anywhere. Okay? I don't get to use 1 support and he gets 2. It's not... It's you just take whoever's got more, however much they have more by. So I've got 1 support, he's got 2. That means overall he's got a net 1. I don't get any support. He can get 1 support. I think I'm making this clear. I hope I'm making this clear. Here he's got 1 support because I got a guy next to him. He's got 2 next to me. Oh, look, he's got 3 next to me. I've got 1, so now he's up to 2 support. Oh, now he's back down to 1 support. Oh, look, I've got 2, he's got 2. We're even. Nobody gets support. Now I got 2 to his 1. I get 1 support, he gets nothing. It's very simple. It's very intuitive. If the guy is if you have a support, if you have a guy from your side next to the guy you're attacking, or if he has a guy next to you, that's how it is. That's all it is. It's very simple. Okay? Critical overrides everything. Otherwise, you go with your symbols. Shields have a better chance than dodges. Hammers have a better chance than cross swords. That's pretty much everything in combat. I know I threw a lot at you all at once. I hope I wasn't being confusing. That's basically everything. That's the whole combat phase, the action phase. The only other thing you can do is to draw cards. I can draw a power card if I don't have a move. I mean, I've only got these 3 guys. If all 3 of them charged my 4th activation, I wouldn't have really anything to do except play a card or draw a card. So that's where I'm at with this. And that's your whole action phase right there. So that's that. We'll go back to the next topic. Okay, so you've done your first activation. You've moved a guy on the board, or you've charged a guy on the board, and you finished your first activation. When your activation is done, you have your power phase, okay, your power step. Your action step is doing your activation, and then you get to the power step. Now, the power step is where your cards come into play, okay? Basically, after you activate, you have an option to play a card, okay? And there's several different types of cards, and I will show you those in a minute. But basically, you have the objective cards, which we'll talk about later because those are the ones that score you glory. And we'll talk about glory because this whole game, by the way, and I can't believe I haven't even said it yet, is about getting glory. At the end of the rounds, whoever has the most glory wins, okay? Everybody does 4 activations, these 4 power steps, and then we get to the end of the round. The game is 3 rounds. At the end of 3 rounds, whoever has the most glory wins. You get glory mostly through the cards. We'll come to that. The other thing you have is your power cards. Now, there's 2 types. There's ploys and upgrades. Upgrades have a little gear. Ploys have a little sword. And basically, I can play 1 power card after I activate. Now, when I'm done activating and I play a power card, my opponent can then play a power card. Then it comes back to me and I can play another power card. This goes back and forth until we both pass one after another. So, like, I could say pass, I'm not going to play one, and then Alex plays one, and then it comes back to me, and I realize, ooh, you know what, I can play one, and I can play one then. We have to pass one after another, and then that activation and power step are then over. So I activate, that's the action step, then there's the power step, then it's my opponent's turn. He activates, he can play a card, then I can play a card. The only other thing you want to know about is the upgrades. You can play an upgrade card. The problem is an upgrade card will cost you 1 glory. You don't lose the glory, you just spend it, meaning you flip it over so you know it's been used, but it still counts towards the end of the game. This makes your upgrade cards very valuable, but it also means in the very beginning of the game, you're not going to be able to play them because you don't have any glory. And so, what do we do? How do we get to that? We'll talk about that in a minute. I want to show you the cards up close and show you the different symbols and the things they can do, and then we'll get back and we'll talk about glory, because a lot of that comes up in the end phase, after the action phase. So we'll come to that in just a minute. Alright, so here's a quick close-up on the cards. During the power step, you can play your cards. As I said, your ploys have little swords, and your upgrades have cogs. Now, some cards have the little Shadepsire symbol, the little skull like on your activation. That is a card that anyone on any little crew can use. Some are specific to your faction. There's Stormcast. That one right there can only be used by Khorne. So you'll see certain cards are limited to who you're playing, and some are go to anybody. So this symbol, the ploys, can be played during your power step for free. The upgrades, you have to pay that 1 glory. Now, if you have glory, let's say you've earned 4 glory, all you do is flip it over to pay it, and then you can add the card to your whoever you're upgrading. You still get this glory at the end of the round. It still counts. You still get the glory. You just spent it. You can't spend it more than once. Now, some upgrades have characters' names at the bottom, and if they do, they can only be played for that character. Some don't. Those can be played on any character. So that's basically it for your power cards. You got ploys and upgrades and character-specific upgrades. That's it. Next thing is the objective cards. And just like everything else, you have objectives that are group-specific, and you have objectives that are group-generic. They tell you how many objective points they're worth. Some are worth more than others. And they tell you what you need to be able to do to get them. Those are your objective cards. Plain and simple. All right. Back to the next step. Glory. That's right. Little chips with gold symbols on them. This is what the whole game's about. Money, money, money. Get your glory right here. This is what you're looking for. So, how do you get glory? Well, there are several ways to get glory. Simplest is kill an opponent. I attack an opponent, he dies, boom, instant glory point. Take one. Now, the other way to get glory is through your objective cards. Now, we have the action step, okay, during the first phase, right? So everyone does their action, I get my action, I do the power step, I play cards. We each get 4 activations. After we each do our 4 activations and play all our cards, we've finished basically most of the first round. All that's left is the end phase, okay? Now, the end phase starts like this. First thing I do, I've got 3 objective cards. Can I score any of these objective cards? Did I meet the criterion on the card? If you did, put the card in the discard pile, and however many glory, whether it's 1 or 3 or 5, gain that many glory, okay? That happens during the end phase. Now, you can, there's a couple of cards here that say score this immediately if you do something. You don't have to wait till the end phase. So those might be played out a turn, but there are just a couple of those in the deck, and those you don't have to wait till the end phase. So it's a way to get glory a little quickly. Now, once I've played all my cards that I can gain glory, I have the option to discard any of the other objective cards. I have an objective card, I'm like, I am never going to score this. Maybe it's, end the game with all of your guys alive, and I just lost a guy. Discard that one, I ain't going to be able to play it. It's a good way to go through your hand. One thing that I don't know if I mentioned or not, I don't remember if I did, is that you don't reshuffle your cards. If you go through all your cards, you're out of cards. So the game's only 3 rounds, and you only get a few cards, but you've only got 12 objective cards. So if you go and start dumping them willy-nilly, or during your turn, if you run out, you're just out. Same with your power cards. You can discard them, but if you run out, you're out. There's no reshuffling your deck. Now, I played my objective cards. I discarded the ones I didn't need. So then my next thing is, if I have any upgrades in my hand I want to play. Now that I've got glory, I can play upgrades. When you've done with that, then you can also discard any power cards that you don't want. And once you've gone through both of your sets of cards, then the last step is to draw back up to 3 objectives and 5 power cards. Then your turn's over, okay? Okay, so that's turn 1. Great. What do we do next? We do turn 2 and 3. Turn 2 and 3 are almost identical to turn 1. Turn 2, you each do your 4 activations and do your little power steps with your cards. At the end of that, you do the same thing. Play your objectives, get the points, discard. play your upgrades, discard, draw back up. The only difference is on turn 3. On turn 3, after you've both done all your activations and your power steps, the end phase is just score whatever's left. There's no point in discarding and adding upgrades. The game's over. So, score your points, be done. Whoever has the most glory wins the game. See? All hail the glow cloud. So, that's basically the whole game. That's the game in a nutshell. It's really fun. Like, there's so many little moving parts when you first start playing, and then you realize it's actually a pretty simple game. In fact, it's kind of deceptively simple. One of the things that I've noticed is there's a lot of different strategies to be had. Okay? You can move and set up the board the way you want. And I know there's reasons to bottleneck and stuff like that. I just haven't found exactly how those are. One of the things I found is I played my first like half dozen games just with the starter deck. I didn't go into the extra cards and go through them and maybe make my own deck. I know that there's strategy in there. I've looked at the cards. I kind of know this is the things I want to do. You know, there are rules for setting up your deck, and I'm not going into them now. Except your deck has to be a minimum of 20 cards, and you have to have exactly 12 objectives. There's some other rules, but don't worry about that. You can figure that out when you get the game. Some of the things I've noticed is, especially when you're going through the objectives, the score this immediatelys. I like to have these in my deck because you can't upgrade till you earn glory. And kill a guy, you can earn some glory. But you can always earn a couple extra glory with this. Some people think the hold objectives cards, and you'll have one of these for each objective on the board. At the end of you have to be on the objective at the end of the entire phase. So during end phase, if you're on it, you can get it. It's only worth 1. So some people try to dump it for more expensive cards, but it's a quick grab. I found that in the first time I was playing it, if I had that, I moved my guy to it and made sure I tried to get on it to get the easy 1 point. But then I had spread out my guys, and they were sort of easy pickings to get double teamed. So sometimes I might ignore those cards to keep my models together. It depends on how you want to play. There's a lot of different strategies and a lot of different play styles to this card. Oh, I didn't even talk about, like when you're playing with the strategies, and I know I mentioned it when we were looking at the cards, but, when you hit your objective and you flip to your inspired form, that's oftentimes part of your strategy. I know when I'm playing Stormcast, I throw them up there when I can to try to get them at least attacked, trying to get them their inspired form. I know when Khorne's playing, if you want those 3 guys to die, if you can take out 1 or 2 of your enemies, but you're not getting it, throw your little 2-wound guy up there. Let him go. Because three kills on either side, that's what turns that inspires your entire team once there's 3 dead models on the board. Boom. So there's lots of different bits. I don't have it all. I know I don't. I've only played about a dozen games, and I've really just been playing sort of with the starter set, and then dipping a little bit into some of the other models and the other cards. But there's so much here. There's rules, there's advanced rules to play with other objectives. There's, if you have 2 sets, if you and your opponent both have your own set, or if your friends come, there's a way to play 3 and 4 players. And they have, that's what the little card has, little 3s and 4s marked on it. So whatever the card says, if it's got a little 3 or a 4 and an extra little rule there, that's the extra rule you add if you have more players. And then you got 4 tiles together, and it gets big and it becomes this huge battle royal. It's got everything, okay? The rulebook is really nice. The artwork is great. It's very clear. It's got an index, a glossary in the back in case you lose track of what you're talking about. Quick start guide's helpful. You've got the how to build your model cards. They all come with everything. It's super clear. It's super simple. This game is just tip-top. And I'll tell you what, I've been playing this a lot during the week because I don't have time for a full-on game of Warhammer at night. But, you know what? After dinner, we're done with our homework. Maybe I don't feel like painting. Maybe I've had a long day. Maybe I'm a little tired. Harrison's done with his homework. we got a TV show on or something like that. Hey, you want to play a quick game of Shadespire? Boom, we got a 30, 40-minute game. It's something fun to do. I see this game going far. I'm looking. We all know there's going to be Skaven and a Fire Slayer expansion coming out after this. I can't see them not putting out more expansions on top of that. As long as the game's doing well. And if the internet is any indicator, between Twitter and all the YouTube videos, and if you haven't watched the Warhammer, TV on Twitch, go ahead and subscribe to that. Free subscription if you've got Amazon Prime. The Shadespire live games, it's probably some of the best stuff they've done. It actually is really conducive to being filmed and recorded. Much simpler than when they do the full-on games. Much easier to see what's going on. The commentary is great. It's fantastic. So, if you're interested, I'd say this is... If you like Warhammer and you like the idea of some of their smaller games they've had out, you have to have this one. This is one that's got to be in your set. It is tip-top. So... that's my review. I might have missed stuff. I don't know. It's long. It's late. I'm tired, but I'm very excited. I'm rambling. Go get a copy of Shadespire and play and enjoy the game. I really think you're going to like it. So until next time, this is me, Dave Witek, signing off for Garagehammer TV. I do want to thank my good friend Jason Castaneda, who, if you've seen anything about this video looking any better than the other ones, it's because he's showing me how to use my editing software, and he's helping set up the cameras and stuff like that, and giving me advice because he knows what he's doing, because I'm an idiot. So, thanks, Jason. Thank you to Unique Gifts and Games for sponsoring the show, and I will see you guys next time with a short video, really quick one. I got a bunch of stuff from 6 Squared Studios, and I want to show you some of the stuff they sent me because it's really cool. So that's it. I'm done. Thanks for watching.